My name is Ache, and I just want to start by saying thank you so much for tuning in. It really means a lot to me. I hope you enjoy this episode, and who knows, maybe you can relate. First and foremost, happy Black History Month. Once again, I really hope this month is treating you very nicely, especially my Negro brothers and sisters. And happy belated Valentine's Day. To all my lovebirds out there, I hope you were wined and dined and romanced. To all my single people, I hope you treated yourself with some TLC. And don't you worry, the wait will be worth it, and the romantic love will come at the perfect time. And to all the situationships, enough is enough. And that brings me to the moment you've been waiting for, part 2 of my major situationship stories. So, just as a quick recap, part 1 was all about my first love, my high school sweetheart, but this time we're going to talk about the boy I fell in love with as an adult. And then, because I care so much about you, I'm going to talk about ways you can prevent yourself from ever getting stuck in a situationship ever again. So let's get right into it. It all started back in 2020. Oh my goodness. It's already been like 4 years. That is crazy. But yeah, it was peak pandemic and I, like many others, got dumped. Yeah, it is what it is. I was also going through it at this time. I had to figure out how I was going to finish school during lockdown. I was working at Starbucks and I hated it. And I had just moved to Mississauga due to family matters. So it's safe to say I was in the thick of it and in a very low headspace. But then I was introduced to Clubhouse. If you know, you know. It was the app of the pandemic. Look it up. People were literally paying to get an invite to get on this app. It was such a weird and crazy time. But anyway, long story short, I get invited to join this app and I became addicted. I was on the app every single day and night for hours on end. I met a bunch of cool people, but I met this specific group of artists from the GTA that I instantly vibed with. So I was in a group chat with these guys because we ended up being BFFs. And one of the guys got my number from this group chat and FaceTimed me randomly one night. And at first I was like, this is weird. I don't know you. But then that conversation lasted almost 4 hours. And from that moment on, we were best friends. We talked almost every day about literally everything and anything. It was really good vibes. And I could tell he was feeling me a bit, but I really wasn't interested at the time because by this point in time, the storms in my life finally calmed and I just wanted to enjoy my happiness without distractions from a boy. I finished up my last exams and graduated. I got a new job that paid a lot better and I loved this job at the time. I started to love the new house and I was finally over the breakup. So fast forward, we're still in lockdown, but some of us from the group on Clubhouse decided to meet up in person, maybe like 5 or 6 of us. And mind you, this is the first time I'm meeting this group and this guy. Let's call him S2, which is going to stand for Situationship number 2. So I go meet up with them, and he's actually the first person I ended up meeting that night. And I gave him a hug, and I just felt like I had known him my whole life. So fast forward, and the red flags start showing up. I didn't really realize it at the time, but he was super love bombing me. But honestly, I didn't really care because to me, before I knew what love bombing was, I just thought it meant that you cared about a person and you just wanted to show them that you want to be with them. You know, I'm love bombing you because I like you and I'm trying to be persistent. I didn't think there was any like negative connotation to that. I thought love bombing equaled I'm putting in effort. And I won't lie to you, I feel like a part of me still believes that. But I think the biggest difference is that it needs to stay consistent and it needs to be reciprocated. But anyway, the more we talked, the more I slowly started feeling him, but I still didn't want anything serious at this point. Then we started hanging out in person. It was cool. We would have a great time. Well, I would have a great time since I later found out that he lied about all his feelings for only God knows why. But anyway, as we got more comfortable with each other, we pretty much agreed that friends with benefits would be the best idea. And it was for a bit, but let me tell you a bit about the beginning part of my relationship with him. I've always felt like our connection was electric. I honestly, electric was the word I felt for this relationship. And I even dedicated him. I even dedicated a song to him. I don't remember the name of the song, but it goes like, "Baby, you're like lightning in a bottle." Yeah, that is so cringy. I literally dedicated that song to him because of how much passion there was in our connection. I mean, to me, right? And I genuinely thought he felt the same fiery, intense feelings because he said he did, but he lied. You know, what can you do? But he was also very easy to talk to and funny and kind in the beginning. And I felt like he really understood me. And I really valued our friendship above all. And I always thought that no matter what happens to us, we would stay friends 100%. Like, I would not have thought that we would never speak again. I was very naive for thinking that, but you live and you learn. So, boom, okay, I started catching feelings, but I was keeping it cool. You know, I didn't want to ruin what we had going on. But then, one day, we go to the park and we're sitting in my car. And he says the three magic words, "I love you." It definitely took me by surprise, but he didn't realize that he had just made the biggest mistake of his life. Because now I didn't have to play it cool anymore. Because he loves me. That's what he said. He said he loved me. So ever since that day, the relationship took a 180. I turned into a simp. I had no backbone. He became my happiness. And it was just super unhealthy on my part, for sure. My only goal after that happened was to get him to be my man. You know the song All Up in Your Mind by Beyonce? That was me. If you don't know the song, you should go listen to it, but I will read you some of the lyrics. She says, "I try to get all up in your mind. I'll go and do the time if it means I'll make you mine." And then she says, "The rider always wants you. I'll be groupie for you. It may hurt at first because I'm going to make you work. Put me first is what you need. I know you're going to love me. I'll make you mine, mine, mine." Yeah, I was not okay. Now, I know from what I said, it may look like I was just so obsessed with a boy that never liked her. And you know what? I would have agreed with you. But when I tell you, he played the game so well because he really got to have his cake and eat it too. He got all the benefits of a loyal, in love, pretend girlfriend with no title or commitment to me. And my silly self allowed that to happen for way too long. Why? Because I was insecure and because I couldn't handle taking another L. Like, I just got dumped, okay? I needed this to work because my emotions and my feelings towards him were so strong. Words cannot describe what my heart was feeling. I thought that the more time he would spend with me meant the more time he would keep loving me. And I was just very wrong. The more time he spent with me, the more distance he put between us. Just to find out at the end of it all that he never meant it. Apparently, he was never even ready to say I love you. And remember, he said it first. unprovoked, out of nowhere. I also found out later that a lot of the things that we did, he never really wanted to do it. Like, what? So instead of saying no to me, he would do whatever I wanted, which made me think that he enjoyed doing certain things with me because he would never complain. I really thought he liked spending time with me because I thought he loved me, right? And I think it hurt even more because quality time is my number one love language. For me, quality time is just constant reassurance that you love being in my space, you love spending time with me. Like, that's exactly what it is. When people hang out with me, I thank them for taking time out of their day, their precious, precious time out of their day to spend with me. That means a lot. Life is short. So for you to want to spend time with me when you know how precious time is, it means the world to me. But I digress. We used to see each other a lot, okay? And we used to go on these fun and youthful dates. Like, my most memorable dates are with him. He was definitely the first guy to bring out my inner child, and I will always, always, always appreciate him for that. Because before I had this experience, I never thought it was something I needed or wanted in a partner. So fast forward again, and it's getting to the end of the situationship. I was getting so frustrated because he didn't want to be with me. And instead of listening to him, I just assumed that he was making the wrong decision. I made him a playlist. I always reassured him of how special he was to me, blah, blah, blah. I put this boy on a pedestal. I catered so much to his ego that I genuinely think it went to his head. And let me tell you, that was very much so one-sided. Like, he really started to be mean to me, and I just took it. And I'm still upset with myself for letting that happen. Looking like a fool. For Mon. Are you crazy? Anyway, by this point, I'm a mess. I'm crying pretty much every day. I lost the fight. I met up with him to get my closure. And when I tell you I was so humbled, I was telling him one last time about my feelings towards him and how much our situationship meant to me and how I felt like it was such a soulful connection and just all these beautiful words just for him to tell me, wow, I've never felt that before. And I was just fighting back tears. And I just said, well, I hope one day you feel that way with someone else. And that was the moment I knew that everything was a lie. I do think he liked me, but only because I was willing to shrink myself and accept crumbs from him while he got exactly what he wanted. And I wish that was the end of our story. Nope. Ache just couldn't let go. There was a good few months that passed, and I was just not handling the breakup very well. I still had so much love for him at the time, even though he told me he didn't feel those things for me. I just didn't believe it. I didn't want to believe it. So what do? I drive an hour in the rain to go see him. We talked, we caught up, whatever. And I really genuinely thought we ended things on good terms until his birthday. I messaged him happy birthday and I noticed I was blocked. And that was the end of that. So yeah, I honestly could have gone into more details because I promise you these emotions I had did not come out of nowhere. He strung me along and played the game so well, whispering sweet nothings in my ear, pretending to love hanging out with me, telling me that I wouldn't have to wait much longer. But this is not about all that. This is about how I acted, because that's the only part of this story that I had control over. He's the first person to ever invoke anger in me. I won't even lie to you. I know it's such a strong word, and I want to start by saying that I don't feel this way anymore because I'm honestly not even able to hold on to that type of energy inside of me without feeling like garbage. But I hated him. But thank God for my amazing support system for being there for me until the very end. They helped me walk through my emotions. They were my outlet. With them, I was able to gain my strength back, take myself out of the situation, and look at it from an outside perspective. Getting over him took such a huge weight off my shoulders because when I tell you he took up so much space in my mind, it was bad. I look back and I genuinely do not recognize myself. When I talk about my situationship with S2, I still get a bit annoyed, but not because of him. I no longer have any feelings towards him, positive or negative, but I get annoyed with myself because I still cannot believe that I let that happen for so long. I take full responsibility for my actions because, like I said, it's the only thing I had control over, and I chose to do wrong by me. I learned the hard way that I never want to be in a situationship like that ever again. Or at all, actually. I don't ever I don't ever want to be in another situationship, God forbid. Now that you know all of my business, let's talk about how we can stop getting into these passionate, short, or too long lived situationships. Side note, this conversation is for any type of relationship. So even if you have your boo, take a listen. It might benefit you too. So, how can we stop the cycle of a situationship? Great question. Well, first we have to figure out why situationships happen in the first place. And I'm no expert in situationships, but as you know, I have been in a couple serious ones. And in my experience, I found myself getting stuck in situationships because it felt like I was winning at a game that I wasn't even playing. For example, if you have older siblings or cousins who played video games growing up, do you remember when you were younger and you wanted to play with them? And instead of letting you play, they would just give you a dead controller or an unplugged controller? Whole time you think you're playing, and you might even think you're winning. Because I don't know about you, but my cousins used to hype me up just so that I would really think I was playing with them. When in reality, my controller was never even plugged in to begin with. But at the end of the day, I would still get that dose of serotonin because I really thought I got what I wanted. That's why I found myself in situationships, because I thought I was playing the game or the role of girlfriend, what I really wanted to be, when in reality I was playing pretend, aka a fool. But why do we stay? Especially when we know we're playing pretend? Great question. I don't think there's one simple explanation for this, but I know for me, I loved the idea of someone loving me even if it wasn't true. Was I delulu to think that way? Yeah, sure, but it made me happy at the time. So to chase that happy feeling, I kept lying to myself. So I would keep telling myself things like, maybe next month he'll ask me to be his girlfriend. Maybe this week he'll confess his love to me. Oh, wow, I think he really loves me. It was just lie after lie after lie. Oh my goodness. In my head, I wanted to keep myself happy, even if it meant hurting myself with every lie I would tell myself. And I also just enjoyed the chase. I mean, the chasing. I really thought I was Bolt or something. I don't know. I spent most of my life thinking I had to chase for affection, attention, appreciation, acceptance, and love. Specifically from men, because of the way I grew up with my dad and my brothers. But anyway, there are thousands of reasons why a situationship seems like the best and only answer to partnership. It could be loneliness, insecurities, fear, lust, literally anything. But if your goal is to be in an actual, loving, long-lasting relationship, you need to change certain things and aspects to get you on the right track to the real relationship destination. Now, you're probably wondering, why would we take advice from you? Aren't you single as Yes. However, I'm not showing you how to get into a relationship. I'm showing you how to stop settling for situationships so you can clear the path for better. So let's begin. Tip number 1, isolation and introspection. You need to get to know yourself. And one way you can do that is through self-isolation. You already know who you are around your friends. You already know who you are around your coworkers. You already know who you are in a toxic romantic relationship. But who are you when you have no distractions, no outside noise, no nothing? Who are you when you're alone? What do you like to do? What do you find yourself thinking about most? What are some things you want to do in the future that are not career related? Who are you? Deep down, who are you? Then take a second to think about who you were. Why did you think the way you did, and why is it different now? Or how is it different now? And then take time to think about who you want to be. What do you want to change about yourself? What do you want to improve on? Who do you want to attract in your life? How do they act? How do you want them to act? What will you never settle for again? What will you not tolerate? Isolation is difficult. I'm not going to lie to you. It can get very lonely and sometimes very scary, but you will come out the other end having a clearer idea of who you are, what you want, and who you want to be. Once you set intentions for your life, you will have a better idea on the decisions that you make, like what's right for you and what's wrong for you. You can do this by journaling, reading self-help books with prompts that ask you questions or that are interactive, meditation, creative expression, or therapy. Knowing yourself will help you create a beautiful relationship with yourself. And once you have that beautiful relationship with yourself, it's a lot harder for someone who doesn't want to take you seriously or who doesn't respect you or is a lazy lover to come into your life and mess that up. Which brings me to tip number 2, standing on business. This is not a joke. Ever since I heard the phrase standing on business, it has become a part of my day-to-day vocabulary because it just makes sense, you know? This should naturally be the second step after tip 1. Because once you know yourself and create that bond and relationship with yourself, you need to become protective over your character. What does that mean? Here's an example. If you told yourself the person you want to be does not settle for someone who is not serious about being in a relationship or doesn't take you out or doesn't compliment you, you don't go ahead and say, well, I guess it's okay. I'll just settle for it anyway. No, you do not go against yourself. You need to protect yourself. You're supposed to be a friend to yourself. And a good friend would never go against you. So don't be a shitty friend to yourself. Stand on business. And just in case you didn't know, you cannot change someone who doesn't want to change. It is not your job to change someone. And it's selfish to try and change someone to fit the fairy tale you have in your head. My question to you is, why would you even want to be with someone who doesn't want to be with you? Is that a fairy tale to you? Forcing someone to be with you? Doesn't sound romantic to me. It sounds like a nightmare, actually. So put yourself first. You can do this by completing tip number 1 or by having accountability partners around you. These people can be your friends or family members or your therapist. How your accountability partner works is that they will tell you if you start to fall off business. And they are there to remind you of who you are and who you want to be. Because I won't lie, sometimes it's easy to forget. Most times it's easier to lead with emotions rather than knowledge. And it's great when you have people who care about you and who want to see you happy, telling you about yourself and putting you in your place. Respectfully, of course. Now, tip number 3. Listen the first time. This one is pretty self explanatory, but even for me, it was one of the hardest tips to follow. To the people who find themselves being in situationships or short lived relationships more often than they would like to be honest with yourself. How many signs did you ignore or are ignoring that led to they don't want me for real or they don't actually care about me? Do you know how many times S2 told me that he didn't want me? Too many times. And he would tell me in the loudest ways. Oh, I'm not ready for a relationship at the moment. I like what we have going on right now. I just want to work on myself. Let's just keep doing this. Can we just go with the flow? Like, am I deaf? He said he doesn't want you, sis. Some people will also tell you through their actions that they don't want you. They'll start randomly ghosting you and taking forever to respond to your messages or completely ignoring your messages. And once they finally decide to message you back, it's 1 a.m. and they're asking if you want to link up with them. And then they won't even give you a reason why they did that in the first place. Or they start rescheduling or canceling all your plans that you have with them and making up shitty excuses as to why they need to cancel or reschedule. Or when you text and call them, the conversations are super dry out of nowhere. Because that's one thing about all relationships. They start off so passionate and vibrant, and they're filled with so much emotion at the beginning. And then when they're tired of you and they make that internal decision that they're just gonna string you along so that they can have their cake and eat it too, they start to test you to see how far you're willing to go. Because even if they start to text you all dry, the old you, of course, time and time again would still try and text them and ask them what's wrong and worry about them. And because of that, they don't change. Or even if they reschedule or cancel on you time and time again, the old you would still have hope that it won't happen again. So you keep planning things and you keep asking to see them. And because of that, they don't change. I say time and time again because no one's perfect. And sometimes people will do things once or twice, but with a good person that cares about you, there's usually no bad intentions behind their actions. But if you communicate that something they do bothers you or hurts you and they keep doing it for whatever reason, I think it's time for you to analyze that relationship truthfully. Now, it can get very confusing when their words don't match their actions. Like, they tell you that they love you and that they care about you and that they want to change for you and that they want to make you happy, but their actions showcase the complete opposite. The one that strings you along knows you very well. Do not underestimate them. They know exactly what you want to hear, and they know exactly how much work they need to put in to keep you there. Just a word of advice. If all they do is feed you sweet nothings in your ear and their actions do not change, please ask yourself, why am I letting this happen? Dig deep. Let yourself get to the root of that answer. And then go back to tip number 1. And look, don't let my auntie voice fool you, okay? I've been in the thick of it. You already heard my story. With S2, I was 100% sure he did not like me anymore when he stopped telling me that he loved me. Ask me if I still kept saying it to him. Yeah. Your girl has come a long way, let me tell you. But mind you, I noticed this and I still was holding on. That's how down bad I was. But because I kept giving him that attention that he clearly loved so much, and he knew, even though I was hurting because I told him I was, it didn't matter because I wasn't leaving. And he was able to hurt me and get what he wanted at the same time. Had I just listened the first time when I was ready to take our relationship seriously and he wasn't, our 6-month downhill roller coaster would have just been a 1-month slide in the park. And that takes me to tip number 4. Slow down and take your time. If you're anything like me where you didn't or don't have much or any experience in dating, this one will be hard. It was the hardest for me. I like to break up the human into three parts: the heart, the mind, and the spirit and soul. What I find when getting into situationships or any relationship, honestly, is that our heart leads the way. Now, this is why it's a little bit more difficult for people who haven't had much experience dating, because that feeling of leading with your heart can or will blind you at the very beginning of connecting with a person, and it'll stop your mind and soul from helping you make the right decisions for you. In my philosophy, the heart controls the butterflies in your stomach, the sweaty palms, the giggling at every stupid joke, the wild imagination of a future with this person, and all the stuff like that. The mind controls your logic. The mind is able to see the facts for what they are. It'll show you the person's actions. It'll show you the details that the heart might miss because it's too distracted with the feelings it's giving you. The mind is the one that's able to give you the ick. Your mind gives you the power to see the small things and to analyze them and to come to certain conclusions. And then your soul and spirit are in control of other feelings outside of love. It will show you in different ways how you really feel around certain people. Does your head hurt every time you talk to them? Do you feel sad or drained every time you indulge in sexual activities with this person? Do you feel unsafe around this person? This is your soul and spirit warning you about this individual. It's so important to take time and to really get to know the person you want to be with. And look, there's no right answer to how much time is good or not, but I think you'll know if you're moving too fast with someone. That feeling of, I just met this person and it feels like I've known them my whole life. Don't get me wrong, that's a beautiful feeling. And that's when my heart really takes the lead, but that's when the blinding starts to happen. You need to remember that even though it may feel like you know this person, you don't actually know this person. So slow down and take your time to really know the person and really deeply connect with them, especially if you feel love for this person. Because in the beginning, everything is great. But in the beginning, you also don't know anything. When love and partnership is something you've really wanted and something you're really not used to receiving and having, you will fall in love with how your heart paints a certain person. Your heart is able to gaslight you into receiving less than you deserve. I was watching a sermon and Pastor Stephanie said, when you don't know who you truly are, you get excited for what's beneath you. It really stuck with me. And this is why this tip is most difficult for people who've never experienced the feels of affection, appreciation, attention, and romantic love. Because when you don't really know who you are, and when you don't stand on business, it is easy to listen to what your heart feels because it's excited to feel these feelings for the first time. And this is completely normal. You're not crazy for wanting these things, and you're not a fool for ignoring the signs and staying where you weren't wanted and trying time after time to make it work. As humans, we chase the feeling of satisfaction. This is why we stay in places where we feel comfortable instead of doing the work and pushing through the fear of the unknown. Fear holds us back in many situations, but it really holds us back in relationships. It could be the fear of not getting married. It can be the fear of not being able to have a family when you want to. The fear of feeling alone forever. Fear of feeling like a disappointment or a failure. Fear of the other person hating you for putting yourself first. Fear of making the other person angry. Fear of your kids growing up in separate homes. All these fears are extremely valid, and you need to give yourself grace when these fears come up. And this is why I emphasize tip number 1. You need to know yourself so that you know how to protect yourself. And this is also why finding a healthy balance between your heart, your mind, and your soul and spirit, especially in the beginning of meeting someone new, is so important. You need to be able to have that connection with yourself so that you're able to say things like, okay, I don't feel good being here. I did my part by communicating to this person about what makes me feel sad or low or angry, but this person continues to make me feel sad, low, and angry. I love this person so much, and it's gonna hurt so much letting this person go. But life is too short, and to feel stuck in a one-sided relationship is not how I want to spend the rest of my life. And then tell yourself, I'm deserving of a loving relationship. I'm deserving of a partner that wants to work through things with me, because I am also aware that no relationship is perfect. And all relationships take work. But in a partnership, the work needs to put in by both parties, or else the relationship slowly falls apart and you begin to feel more alone than you did before meeting the person. Then you need to ask yourself, what's the point? Because my heart said so? Lean into what your mind tells you. Lean into what your soul and your spirit tells you. You know the answer. Your heart is not the only one in control. And this brings me to my final tip, tip number 5. Follow the advice you'd give your best friend. This amazing tip was given to me by Dammy, my best friend. We talk about literally everything together, and we give each other great advice all the time, but sometimes it's hard to take our own great advice and use it on ourselves. Think about the relationship you're in right now. Think of everything that person is doing to you, what they're not doing for you, how they speak to you, how they talk about you. Think of everything. Now, how would you feel if your best friend told you they were experiencing what you just thought about? If your response is, oh wow, it sounds like you're in such a healthy and loving, amazing relationship, then yay, good for you. But if your response sounds like, what did they just say? They did what now? Do you need me to fight them? If you don't break up with them, I swear I'll do it for you. If it sounds like that, then maybe it's time for you to sit yourself down and be so for real. Sometimes an outside perspective can help you see things differently. Back in the day, I used to make voice journals, so instead of writing everything out, I would just talk to myself and record it. And when I would listen back to these voice notes, it would really help me look at my situations from a third-person perspective. When you do that, it's like your mind finds the confidence to sit your heart down and be like, you hear that? Listen to what they just said. Does that sound like the lies you've been telling yourself? It's a great way to give yourself a wake-up call. Closer to the end, my girls would tell me all the time that the relationship with S2 was no good. But my hard head did not want to listen, and I did not care. But once I started to reflect on what was really happening, and I saw the situation from that third-person perspective, I was like, I would never want this to happen to any of my friends. So what makes me so different? But if you're anything like the old me, this tip will be hard to follow. All of these tips will be hard to follow depending on your mindset, your upbringing, your environment, your wants and your needs. So give yourself grace. Nobody's perfect. And I'm going to be completely honest with you. Even though I've had so many failed situationships and talking stages, I would do it all over again with some people. Just because I love everything it taught me. Were the lessons hard to learn? Absolutely. But it was so worth it. I hope that these heartbreaking experiences teach you lessons that you can carry throughout your entire life in all different types of situations, and not only the relationship scenarios. I took to socials and asked for some tips to being in a healthy relationship. The first one is communication. Yeah. And that's a big one that I notice a lot of people have a hard time with. Someone else said, have a life outside of one another. Yeah, no, that is some great advice I wish I knew sooner. Someone else said, know yourself to know what you deserve. That sounds oddly familiar. Let me just redirect you to tip number 1. And lastly, date someone who is older and emotionally aware/mature. Heavy on the and after older, because I've met some lame older guys, so grown and weird, like ew. I also asked what my people in love had to say about their experience with love. One person said, I never knew it was love until I fell. I didn't have to question anything. It was flowing and natural. Ugh, I love that. I love that so much. And another person said, it's wonderful and frightening, fun and sad. The highs were high and the lows devastating. But the way it helped me grow as a person after, outside it all, is everything and the most important takeaway for me. It helped me see my flaws and my strengths as a lover. I love hearing stuff like this because it just gets me excited to be with my husband. I'm just playing, but it does give me hope. But okay, here's the recap. Know yourself, protect yourself, listen the first time, slow down, and be your own best friend. I've honestly learned so much through love and heartbreak. I can talk about it all day, every day. Like, it really is my favorite topic, honestly. But I really do hope these tips help you, and I hope my story is one that you can learn from. Now, I don't mean to be cocky, but I actually think you'll be able to relate to this one. But in case I'm wrong, I know for a fact that you know someone that can definitely relate. So don't forget to share this with that friend. Okay, bye. This is the Maybe You Can Relate Songs to Discover segment, where I put you on to a new song at the end of every episode. This week, I have a song by an artist named AY. AY, a Toronto-based artist, is renowned as the hit maker for his exceptional skills in songwriting, vocals, production, and performance. His dynamic blend of rap, song, and instrumentation effortlessly crosses genres from hip-hop to R&B to Afrobeats, showcasing a meticulous flow influenced by many different artists. With Nigerian roots intertwined in his musical DNA, AY's unique sound reflects his journey from humble beginnings in Canada to fulfilling his dreams through his own distinctive discography. The song you're about to hear is called Would You Ride? Let's take a listen.
If I gave you the world, would you ride for me, mama? Would you die for me, mama? Would you try for me? Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. If I gave you the world, would you ride for me, mama? Would you die for me, mama? Would you try for me? Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Shawty step out in designer, looking so fine like some China. I just wanna get behind her, oh yeah. I just wanna know what her name is. Replay, let me put you on a playlist. Maybe you a diamond underrated. Oh yeah. She too fine for me. I wanna see if she can wine for me.
If you want to hear the rest of this song, I have the link in my caption for you to go and do just that. Make sure to follow AY on all major social media platforms at AY Lawson for SoundCloud, Spotify, Instagram, and YouTube. Again, the link will be in the caption. So yeah, I'll catch you on the next one. If you want your song to be on the Maybe You Can Relate Songs to Discover segment, make sure to click the link in my bio, go to the MYCR Songs to Discover form, fill it out, and we'll go from there.